We took the day off yesterday to gather our thoughts for this weekend, but we still got to talk about the divisional championship weekend. We're going to play the blame game. Who is to blame for their losses? Why did the Bucks lose? Why did the Bills lose? Why did the Texans lose? Why did the Packers lose? Blame's got to go to somebody. Let's figure it out. Let's figure it out. The phone lines are open, 812-406-0332. Call us. But first. And now, Mike's thoughts. Sloppy seconds are a real thing. The Las Vegas Raiders love them some sloppy seconds. The Las Vegas Raiders have hired former Chargers GM to be their new GM. Of course, they got their coach, AP. Antonio Pierce is their new head coach. But what it comes down to is this GM didn't survive in old Chargerland. He didn't survive his previous job either, but maybe he'll turn around into Vegas. Maybe the Vegas women is all he needs. Maybe. Also, Las Vegas Raiders fans in general, AOC is not your quarterback. I just want to say AOC is not your quarterback. Give the job to Jimmy G 100%. Give it to Jimmy G. But the Raiders do have their new GM. Chargers ex-GM. They got fired with the old Brandon Stanley. Good luck with that. Cue that intro. Are you ready for the best damn NFL show on the planet? Man Hour Nation, rise up.
You don't want to be every time, no. I would like to personally welcome you to Man Hour After Dark. Say that thing. While I bring you the host, Mike, Buck, and Cone. You know who's coming to the stage. Sports talk than what you about to hear right here. I second that.
Go. You know that it's us when we talking about sports. Giving you facts on the field to the core. Tune in, we need the support. 1 hour too short, then listen some more. On all your stations, not dropping no music. Starts like Adidas, but Nike just do it. Down 4 in the 4th, we go for the win. Michael 2 seconds, we taking it in. Buck, Mike, and Combs, you know what's going on. Man, now we're After Dark, no LA, we the big spark. No 4th and inches won't cut you short. Got the best talking, it's all sports. Buzzing more than buzzer beaters. We coming live, all 3 speakers go.
And what is up, Man Hour Nation? Michael Buck out here with the Man Hour Report of manhourradio.com. Check out the merchandise page or check out the blog section as well. And of course, check out the forum section. It is rolling out there each and every day. New parts of it is. But we do got a great show for you guys lined up. We're going to flash back to last week. I'll talk a little bit of divisional games here. Talk about why the Buffalo Bills lost. Talk about why the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lost. And the Packers. And the Texans. And then Thursday and Friday, it is all about championship weekend. Excuse me. But we do got to welcome some people into the chat here. The chat is working today. And we got my man, Jim Palin says, what are we doing? Oh, no, we suck again. I mean, you never got good, so you not suck again. Is that you just still suck. You still suck, Jim. But he also says, after that ass whooping and 63-piece, Tesla got fired. Maybe he was setting up the sparklers. Setting them up for what? For success long term? I don't know. It is what it is. But guys, I gotta welcome the right-hand man. The peanut butter to my ladies. The man that gets my jollies going each and every morning whenever he smiles and said, well, my cockies. My man, John freaking Hoffman. What's up, Hoffman?
What's up, Michael Buckheister? What's up, Man Hour Nation? Looking forward to a good show here.
Looking good for a good show here. But Hoffy, we were off yesterday. I woke up with just this splitting headache on Monday, and it carried on till Tuesday, and it basically brought me to my knees. And I need to let you guys in on a little secret about me, right? So the reason why I ultimately quit playing football was because I would wake up with these splitting headaches damn near every day, right? You would roll out of bed, you have to wear slippers until Thursday, hopefully Friday you can button up your own pants, and then Saturday you're good to go. And then on Sunday you could hopefully play, right? Well, I quit because I thought I was getting CTE, because I was getting vertigo really, really bad. I would stand up and my head would just be spinning. I don't know which way I was going. I was always tired. I was just like, what is going on with my life? I stopped playing ball, stopped getting concussions, and everything started to straighten out. But the last I don't know, 6 months, it's been back. So I just want to let you guys know, if you see me randomly start drooling out of my mouth, I'm not dead. I'm just incapacitated with those pills. I don't know. Just let you guys know. Let you guys know. We got my man John Peoples in this. Good morning, kids. Good morning to you as well, John. Hope you're having a grand old morning up there in Michigan. John, did you guys get that ice? That ice storm that just rolled through here, like the Ohio Valley, Michigan, Great Lakes area? Let me know. Are you safe? I just feel safe. And then Wayne says, I feel you. I quit dunking from the foul line because I wake up with sore knees. Javi, do you think Wayne G can dunk from the foul line? I don't think Wayne G can even touch the net.
I was going to say, I don't think that you could fit a deck of cards under Wayne's jump.
Honestly, I've never met Wayne G in person, but I do know he has a killer jump shot from what I've seen on the old interwebs there. And Jim said, Man Hour Hoffy, nobody told me it was Ugly Hat Day. It's been Ugly Hat Week for the last 2 weeks. I don't know.
It's freaking 15 degrees outside. Fucking cold. You send me whatever beanie you want me wearing, and I'll wear it.
Yeah, because he's a fan of all the winning teams. Jim House says, don't you pull a Darren Waller? I'm not going to pull a Darren Waller. I've already killed my people. Oh, shh. My bad.
What about Aaron Hernandez?
John says, it's a slushy city just here. Just rain. Arthur Brown's in the chat. Cancel that Amber Alert. My man's back. He says, good morning, gentlemen. Good morning to you as well, Arthur Brown. And he says, I think we traded Tua to Denver. Is this true? It is not true. That was the most foolish trade thing So, Hoffy, there's this meme floating around the old interwebs. It was a 3-team trade. It was between the Denver Broncos, Chicago Bears, and the Miami Dolphins. Basically, what it come down to was that Tua was going to Denver, Justin Fields was going to Miami, and basically Chicago Bears was getting picks out of it. So it is 100% false from what I understand, Arthur Brown. Now there might be some validity to it, because where there's smoke, there's fire, right? Just because, we kind of snuffed at the idea of a Russell Wilson trade a couple years ago, right? And then long story short, it did come to fruition in the end. So, I mean, there could be some type of talks, but that trade that you're referring to, it is completely false. Arthur Brown, completely false.
It would be a very Bears thing to do, though, to just get 3 third-round picks, trade away Fields, and not get Tua.
Yeah, but then the Broncos are still stuck with Tua, last year of his contract, and you have Russell Wilson still on the books. I don't think that it doesn't make sense.
Financially will.
Yeah. Kelly Monroe is in the chat. What's up, Kelly? And they say Ugly Hat Day. I think I see some eagles in their profile picture. Can you see that, Hoffy? I'm not for sure. But
that is one hat that I will not put on my head, regardless if you send it or not.
The Eagles.
I'll put on a freaking Raiders hat. I'll put on a goddamn Lions hat. I'll put on the Dolphins hat.
Yeah.
Put on a Chiefs hat.
What about Raiders?
Will not put on a Bears hat because Combs is a clown piece. Don't want to be associated with him. So yeah, no Eagles hats, no Bears hats. Fuck Bills Mafia. Fuck the Giants.
Easy. Wayne G says fans come up with the dumbest trades ever. Every player want to trade worth the top 10 pick, and every guy they want is worth the 7th round draft pick. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. And Kelly says it's a Browns. It is it's blurry for me, Kelly, but I can kind of see the outline of a gray or a Browns jersey. But Hoffy, we are going to recap last week, and since we missed yesterday, I had a terrible headache, like I said, and I had the show all lined up ready to go. So basically, Hoffy, today here on Wednesday, we are going to play what I'm going to call the blame game. There were 4 teams that lost on Saturday and Sunday, and we got to point blame to one specific area of the game of why that particular team lost. Are you ready to buckle up and play the blame game? Because we are no longer being blamed for our failed intricacies in the house. We left the toilet seat up. We can blame somebody else now, Hoffy. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah. I always blame my kids on that one.
All right, guys. So the first blame game of the day is we're going to jump into the Buffalo Bills taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, the kicker, Bass, for the Buffalo Bills, missed a kick wide right, but they ultimately did, losing the game 27-24. Many finger pointings are going toward Josh Allen, the reason why the Buffalo Bills lost this game. Many fingers are being pointed to Joe Brady. Many people are pointed to just somebody, right? But let me state the obvious here, Hoffy. The person to blame for the Buffalo Bills loss to the Kansas City Chiefs last Sunday night is Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs is the reason why the Buffalo Bills lost that game. Not Stephon Diggs in general. It is the fact that he is supposed to be their number one receiver, and their number one receiver hasn't broken a 100-yard game since week 7 or week 6. The simple fact of the matter is Stephon Diggs is on the downcline of his career. He has taken a huge step down since Joe Brady has taken over the play calling. Now you can say, oh, it's because James Cook is running the lights out on the ball. Other receivers have stepped up, yada, yada, yada. But in the end, the Buffalo Bills loss is being 100% blamed on Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs, Hoffy, is the reason why they lost this game. Who do you think the blame goes to the Buffalo Bills for losing this game?
Before I get into that, just to kind of piggyback off of that, because I do agree with you. Buffalo's last 10 games, Shakir has 462 yards on 38 targets. Stephon Diggs has less yards, 422 yards on 80 targets.
Wow. And that's your number one receiver.
Yeah. That being said, obviously, you got to put some blame there on your number one receiver for not getting the job done. But I think it starts, with this Buffalo Bills team, it starts with at the top. You moved on from your defensive coordinator. Sean McDermott took over defensive play calling. And I'm going to say it starts with him, but I'm going to blame the defense as well as the special teams. One thing that the Buffalo Bills did well on defense was stop the Kansas City Chiefs on third down. Kansas City Chiefs converted on 20%, 1 of 5. However, they only got them to third down 5 times throughout that whole game, which means first and second down, the Chiefs were clicking. So I'm going to say that is a recipe for not winning, when you're allowing, teams to get first downs on first and second and not even getting the third down. So I'm going to blame the defense for that lackluster performance.
Yeah, I mean, you held the Kansas City Chiefs to 27 points here, and one of the greatest quarterbacks in the league and one of the wide receivers, best receivers in the league, can't score you more than 27 points. Something is wrong there. And like Wayne G says, who is pointing the fingers at the guy with 3 touchdowns and no turnovers? Another game that the Bills defense failed Josh Allen. So, Wayne G, I respect the 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. I respect the fact that they did have a good offensive game. It was a very, very clean game, across the board. I think both teams performed at very, very high levels. But with that being said, the reason why people are pointing the finger at Josh Allen is because he's the quarterback. When you lose, it's the quarterback's fault in the end. But at the end of the day, Josh Allen cannot beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs. Josh Allen cannot win a big playoff game. Josh Allen cannot do a lot of things that Patrick Mahomes, Brock Purdy, Jared Goff has done. And that is win big playoff games. So
yeah, but Josh Allen didn't give up 5 scores in the first 6 possessions.
True. Like, you are spot on there. And I see your defense, and I'm not blaming Josh Allen. I'm just trying to justify of why people would be blaming Josh Allen for this loss. And when we look at losses across the board, we look at the Dallas Cowboys, right? Did the Did Dak Prescott give up 41 points? No, the Dallas Cowboys defense, but the blame was put on Dak Prescott. So, Hoffy, let me ask you this question. Why does Dak Prescott get the blame like he does for his team, air quote, they're giving up 41 points and losing that game? He gets thrown on the bus and gets blamed that he can't win the big game. But Josh Allen plays well. Defense does play well as well, but he doesn't get any blame. Like, why do you think Josh Allen doesn't get any blame here, though?
Josh Allen at least put up points. Josh Allen put him in a position to where they could tie the game. All Dak Prescott did was throw, 2 interceptions and, not put up any points for that team. So I think their performances speak for themselves personally.
So Arthur Brown says wide right mafia.
Love it.
Love it.
Absolutely love it. You hear that, Carson Lang? Wide right.
Jim says, I agree with Hoffy. I puked in my mouth a little bit, but I do agree with him. If the Bills scored 24, you have to stop KC at 23. Simple math. True. If Stephon Diggs would have stepped up, you wouldn't have had to worry about, that last second field goal. I think it's Stephon Diggs all the way. Wayne G says Dak turns the ball over and Allen doesn't. Sometimes the QB is to blame, sometimes he is not. So
do you think?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you first, buddy.
Do you think that, we've talked about it several times, on are they going to move on from Stephon Diggs or not? I think, after seeing, the stats, like I said, between him and Shakir and seeing just Dalton Knox and Kincaid and what they have in those, those two and what you got out of Cooks once you brought Brady in under, play calling, do you think that now's the time to move on from Diggs? Do you think they do that?
So I've been saying all year long, actually really loudly for the last six weeks, that I think if the Buffalo Bills do not make the Super Bowl, something has to happen. Whether it's head coaching, whether it's Josh Allen, whether it's Stephon Diggs, something has to shake the cage and rattle them up. And I think Stephon Diggs does have a foot out the door. And I do understand the dead cap hit. I do understand that the Buffalo Bills have $100 million of dead cap hit next season, Hoffy. But sometimes you have to take the loss to reap the rewards in the end. Like the Kansas City Chiefs, they lost Tyreek Hill. Everybody's like, oh man, the world's coming to like an end. What do? They won the Super Bowl. Now, it's not going to be like that instantly, but basically it comes down to, do you want to keep Gabe Davis for half the price or Stephon Diggs that can't get over 100 yards in a game?
And I think Josh Allen's salary cap doubles. I think he's going to be around 48. So, I mean, they could probably restructure that and, and try and get themselves, a little bit of cap spending there. But can you imagine if they did not trade Stephon Diggs to Minnesota and they kept that pick that ended up turning into Justin Jefferson?
Hindsight's 20/20, right? But like, would Justin Jefferson turn out the way that he turned out in Minnesota anywhere else? It's kind of a double-edged sword there. Jim says, I will say Diggs was Jim says Diggs is out. He says Diggs was already catching passes at practice at AT&T Stadium.
Oh, Jesus. There's no way he is going to eat on the Dallas Cowboys when you have CeeDee Lamb.
He would be a good number 2, but then you look at the Cowboys roster. Who are you going to cut? Are you going to cut Turpin? Are you going to cut Galloway? Like who are you going to cut? Just because when you bring on Stephon Diggs, you're bringing on that $20 million a year salary, whatever it is, right?
I like what they have in their receiver room with CeeDee Lamb. You have, Cooks that can just, run a go route and get you, pick up those big plays. I talked about all year he was kind of going to be the X factor to their success, and he was going to be overlooked. And, I think that that was kind of true. The tight end this year, him and Dak really developed some good chemistry. And then, like you said, you got Gallup, you got a couple other, Turpin, you still got Pollard too in the backfield. I don't think there's any reason to bring on Stephon Diggs unless you're looking to you know, be on Hard Knocks and, just be watched every week
Well, if I
for pure
do,
entertainment.
if I do remember correctly, Brandon Cooks was on a 1-year deal with the Cowboys, so he is a free agent. So he could,
I believe so. But
so he could find himself on a new team. So there could be that number 2 slot open. Now, the Buffalo Bills are going to take a dead cap hit on Stephon Diggs, no matter what happens, no matter what they trade him, they cut him, whatever. There's X amount dead cap hit. I don't know how much it is. I think it's like 40 some odd $million or something crazy, but it's kind of like the Russell Wilson effect. Just as long as Russell Wilson's getting like $1 million, he's still getting his guaranteed money from the Broncos, so he doesn't care how much like he makes. Would Stephon Diggs come to Dallas Cowboys for a chance to win a Super Bowl, a chance to play with his brother, a chance to be in the same room with like CeeDee Lamb? Like, I mean, the Cowboys are probably already Super Bowl contenders next year as is, just for the roster, how they're currently constructed right now. But you add Stephon Diggs in there to replace Brandon Cooks, there's going to be a lot of talk about him. A lot of talk.
if they trade him after June 1st, it's a $19 million cap hit. If they trade him before June 1st, it's a $31 million cap hit.
So after the draft, trade him right before preseason starts, get him out of town, send him to Dallas. Like, it makes sense. I mean,
Is this the fan in you speaking, or is this just this is your hot take?
No. Just because it has been rumored that Stephon Diggs wants to come to Dallas for last 2 years, I want to say. Basically,
I just wasn't sure if this was the fan in you speaking, or if this is you going off of his brother Diggs is
no. This is
there as well.
This is no fandom whatsoever. I honestly would not want Stephon Diggs on the Dallas Cowboys or the Kansas City Chiefs, just because I do think he is like a Tyreek Hill in 2019 in Kansas City. Like, you have to force him the ball to make him happy, and we've seen it in Buffalo. They're trying to force him the ball. He just can't catch it for some reason. I don't know if it's bad throws or what you say, like 80 targets on 40 catches. That's not a very good ratio.
Send him to Vegas with Devontae Adams.
He would end up in jail like old Henry Ruggs III. Like, he's like, man, I don't want to be here. How do I get out? Is that too soon? Wayne G says the Cowboys are way over the cap. Cooks and Gallup could be both cap casualties. Listen, Wayne G, you have been watching football a hell of a lot longer than I've been watching. You are a very, very smart man. You know that the salary cap is just a number. Everything can be fluxed or moved to the next year, right? You want to pay CD and Tyron Smith and old Micah Parsons. You can give them, we'll give you $2 million this season, but we give you like $20 million signing bonus. Those signing bonuses don't hit the cap. Give them a low salary, make it a very incentive based with a high signing bonus. Bada bing, bada boom. You are under the cap, right? Or you restructure Dak's deal to make it back end deal, right? There's a lot of things you can do to get under the cap. If you want a player bad enough, you can make it happen. Look at Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs wanted that player bad enough. They backloaded his contract. It is what it is. Jim says, who else would be the number 4? Diggs was talking about that mechanical tweet. I don't know what that word is. Who else would be number 4? I don't understand what you're saying, Jim. Do you know what he's talking about Hoffy?
No.
Yeah, I'm not for sure. John People says Chargers, maybe. Stephon Diggs to the Chargers. Listen, Chargers blocked Kellen Moore from interviewing for the Chicago Bears job Monday. Blocked him. Said, you're not going to interview for that. So that tells me 2 things. Kellen Moore is probably going to be the head coach of the LA Chargers moving forward at some point. When you look at the Chargers roster, they have a very, very good roster on paper. Keelan Allen, Joshua Palmer, Quentin Johnson. They still have Austin Eckler. They do have Justin Herbert as their quarterback. Their defense is kind of aged, but still very good defense. You kind of get to that point like, because obviously Joshua Palmer and Quentin Johnson are both on rookie deals. Do you release Keenan Allen, let him walk away? Oh, by the way, you still have Mike Williams. Do you let him just walk away? Stephon Diggs to the Chargers makes 0 sense to me whatsoever because they already have a receiver room put together. They already have a quarterback room put together. They just need a coach. Kellen Moore might be their coach. Bad choice, but it might be their coach. Coffee, what do you think? Stephon Diggs and the Chargers make any sense to you?
No. I don't think Stephon Diggs is a number one guy anymore, and therefore I don't think any team is going to be looking to acquire. I think the Bills are going to have to sweeten the pot. I don't think it's going to be, a hot commodity like it was when he was with the Vikings and the Bills went out and got him and, kind of thing. And I know, he's aged this and that, but he's not the guy anymore. He can easily be taken out of a game. Like you said, you have to force him the ball, and even so, they forced him the ball 80-something times. He only had 40 catches. So I'm not giving up any draft capital for him. I'm going to try it. I think you could look at the rookie wide receiver that the Chargers drafted, and he might potentially be a bust. But I would rather try and fix him than bring in Stephon Diggs. I think Stephon Diggs' better days are behind him.
All right, so guys, let's move on. Actually, we have one more comment here that I want to address before we move on here. Arthur Brown popped in and says the Chargers are in a bad spot already with the cap. They wouldn't be able to afford Diggs anyways. I don't think they would want to put Diggs on their team. They already have issues as is. But let's talk about the game that I was most intrigued about all week long, and that was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Detroit Lions. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers battled the Lions all game long. Baker Mayfield ultimately ended the game with a interception to basically kind of, quote, seal the deal for the Detroit Lions in that victory there. So, Hoffy, when you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Detroit Lions, it was kind of a back and forth game all game long. The Lions got the last laugh. Who are you blaming in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers loss to the Detroit Lions?
So, the defense held its own in the first half, but, after losing Jamal Dean in the second half, the defense really, really fell apart. The Lions started picking up all the different blitzes that Tampa Bay was bringing. So, unfortunately, broken record here, but I'm going to blame that one again on the defense of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
And see, I thought I was seeing things the last 56 seconds of that game, Hoffy. Baker Mayfield threw the interception with a minute 30 something left in the game. If I remember right, the Buccaneers had 2 timeouts left on that clock, right? Fast forward, right? It is 4th and 12. They've taken a couple knees at that particular point. 53 seconds left, I think it was. 41 seconds. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers still had 1 timeout left on the board. They let the Lions kneel and let the time run out with 1 timeout left on the board, and it's 4th and 12. They could have gotten the ball back with 30 some odd seconds left in that game.
They would have just kicked a field goal.
They would have had a punt, at that particular point. But the person I'm blaming for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers losing this game is their head coach, Todd Bowles. Right? You had 1 timeout left on the board, 53 seconds or 41 seconds. I cannot remember exactly how much it was. 4th and 12, it was third and 12. They take the knee, get it underneath the 40 seconds, and you let the time run out with 1 time left, with 1 timeout left on the board. Why would you do that? Why not give your team an opportunity with 30, 40 seconds left in the game? You're probably going to get the ball at let's say the 10, right?
Miracle in the Meadowland.
We've seen it. 13 seconds, right? Bills Mafia. You can drive the length of the field in 30 seconds. You have Mike Evans. Yes, he did have 2 big drops earlier in that game, 2 touchdown drops, but he was balling out. He had 147. He had 8 catches and a tutty. Todd, the head coach, is to blame for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And if he is not on the hot seat right now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are just happy with just being mediocre, Hoffy. That's what it comes down to. How can you leave one timeout on the freaking board? Like, I can't wrap my head around it. Like, I was pissed. I'm like, why? I mean, like, maybe I was seeing it wrong. Maybe, was it on Game on Fox? Maybe they had the little ticker thing wrong and he didn't have a time
No, he
left.
absolutely had a timeout, and he was asked about it. He said that that they would have just kicked the field goal, and it's like maybe you could have blocked the field goal and returned the field goal, return the field goal for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Maybe they oversnapped maybe he goes wide right. I mean, we saw Bass do it.
Yeah.
So, like you said, to not give your team an opportunity to win the game, I as a player would be absolutely bullshit.
You as a player, would you have called a timeout in that situation? You'd be like, fuck the coach. I'm calling a timeout. Let's win this damn thing.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that, but yeah, absolutely. I'd run up and down the sideline like a head coach and just tee it up real quick.
Yeah, because the referees on the sideline aren't looking at you. They just hear you, timeout, timeout, timeout.
Or Devin White, the defensive captain.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody should have said, hey, if my coach isn't going to coach, I'll take care of it.
Yeah. It would have been a very long flight home of me punching him in the face repeatedly. Like, why didn't you call a timeout? Why didn't you call a timeout? Why didn't you call a timeout? David's in the chat.
Yeah,
David's in the chat. The Chargers are in the house. What is up, David? And Jim says, so we talked about the Bills, we talked about the Chiefs game, but we never blamed the Chiefs for winning. Wayne G says,
that's what I wanted to say. The reason why the Bills lost is because of the refs.
Yeah, the whole five flags in the game and 3 of them against Kansas City Chiefs, right? Wayne G says, I blame Baker here. Gunslingers typically lose to game managers. In the playoffs, the teams that make the least make the mistakes lose. Absolutely correct. The pass that Baker Mayfield threw was definitely a very, very bad pass, right? He had to throw it over a defender and had to land directly into him. He had a defender over the top. It was a definitely Brett Favre-ish type of play. And I could blame Baker for that. Baker could get some of the blame, but I want to blame the coach. It's the coach's fault. Jim says the guy who reminds me of Boaz about the timeout should be fired. Boy's situational awareness is also suspect for sure. I feel like this is not the first time we've seen Coach Boyles like make a kind of just like a boneheaded thing. Like, oh, there's like a minute left. We'll just let him play whatever. Right. It just, he's definitely lackadaisical, right? Like, is that the word I'm looking for? Definitely just like, yeah, whatever. It is what it is. But Hoffy, your team, the San Francisco 49ers, did win. Brock Purdy played like complete dog doo-doo until the fourth quarter. Then he made a, quote, amazing throw. It's just a throw over the defender into Brandon Ayuk's arms, but we digress from that. The Green Bay Packers controlled most of that game. To end the game, Jordan Love did end the game by throwing to a three-piece interception there. But who was to blame for the Packers' loss?
I am going to put the blame on Jordan Love on this one. 2 interceptions, that final one being a back-breaking pick. I mean, if not for Aaron Jones single-handedly tearing the Niners defense a new one all game, I think this game would have been a lot differently, or gone a lot differently. So I believe Jordan Love is the reason for the Green Bay Packers losing this game. That's not to say that he's not going to be a top 5 quarterback and he's not a great quarterback, but much like we put the blame on Dak for, losing the game for the Cowboys, I think this one unfortunately falls on Jordan Love.
Yeah, and and you could go either way with that. I mean, Jordan Love did have a pretty good game. He just kind of butthole puckered in the time mattered most, and he just happened to throw a bad interception. But I'm going to blame somebody else, Hoffy. I'm going to blame the defense, not the defensive players itself. I'm going to blame the defensive scheme. I'm going to blame the defensive coordinator, Joe Barry. Joe Barry is the reason why the Green Bay Packers lost this game. When you look at the first 3 quarters in that game, they were pressuring Brock Purdy play after play after play. You had Deebo Samuel out of the game, and you were continuing to pressure, and Brock Purdy was looking worse and worse and worse as the game went on. And then all of a sudden in the fourth quarter, you're like, oh, let's take the foot off the gas. Let's stop blitzing. Let's stop pressuring the quarterback. Let's back up our cornerbacks to play 8 yards depth. Joe Barry is the single-handedly reason why the Green Bay Packers lost this game. The whole defensive mindset, that whole fourth quarter, was complete asinine. They changed the whole. They changed everything that they were doing the first 3 quarters into the fourth quarter to say, hey, you guys are going to have to nickel and dime us down the field. Hoffy, what does Brock Purdy do best? Nickel and dime you down the field when he has time. He had 4+ seconds every play, nickel and dime you down the field, made a big play when it mattered the most. Joe Barry is the reason why the Green Bay Packers lost this game, Hoffy. There's no question in my mind. Joe Barry should be fired. Packers fans, I understand Joe Barry seems to get it right in the late season, but Joe Barry has to go. Defensive changes have to happen.
He can take Anders Carlson with him too. Guy averaged like missing at least 1 field goal a game.
Yeah.
All he's got to do is hit that that 41-yard field goal that he missed. That puts them up. I think it was by 10 at that point or something like that.
Did he miss 2 field goals in that game too? Like both kind of chip shots for like NFL standards, if I'm not mistaken. But if you want to take it a step further, me and Cindy were actually talking about this. I'm like, the Packers just cut Mason Crosby last season, right? Because he was too old, or they wanted younger, or whatever. Arguably one of the best kickers in the NFL, at least top 5 at that particular time. One of the most accurate kickers to draft a rookie that you said misses a kick a game almost. What?
Yeah, after all I needed to see was after that Raiders game, I would have left him in Las Vegas. Las Vegas could have had him.
Yeah,
but yeah, he missed. I've seen him miss extra points. Chip shots.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
The one thing that I question this year is usually in the NFL kickers are kind of like a revolving door, right? You miss a game-winning kick or an extra point, you're kind of on the street like the next day. Packers, the 49ers, the Buccaneers, the Jets, they all kind of kept the same core of kickers, even though they kept missing kicks, right? Now, I know the Packers kicker was named Carlson, right? And then Jake Mooney were both drafted, so you have them for 4 years and they're underneath a rookie deal or like whatever. So you necessarily don't want to cut a draft pick. But damn, you average a missed kick a game and there's no competition behind you. Like, what?
Yeah, Moody's kind of figured it out for the 49ers, but yeah, at the beginning, there's been times during this season where you've like, oh shit, this is why you don't spend a 3rd-round pick on a kicker. But he's kind of figured it out. Still to me doesn't justify a 3rd-round pick. They themselves had a pretty good kicker, in Robbie Gould. So, I think when you have someone like him, you got to hold on to him.
Well, and especially since kickers can play till 50 years old, i.e. Adam Vinatieri, right? He spent 20 years in New England and 20 years in freaking Indianapolis. Like,
yep, absolutely. Yeah. If you can get someone like that, you got to hold on to him. I mean, that is we saw it with the Buffalo game, needing a field goal to tie it. Bass misses that, but I mean, look at the Ravens. The Ravens kicker. Look at even the Steelers, kicker. All these teams that have, a good kicker can, heck, look at the Dallas Cowboys this year. Their kicker had the 3 field goals from beyond 50 yards in the one game or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to get the ball at the 25-yard line. If you return a kick return, maybe a good, decent one, you get to 35. So at that point, you need about 30 yards of offense to get 3 points.
Yeah. And that was the Miami game, was it? When he kicked, like he basically kept him in that Miami game, if I'm not mistaken, all game long. And that's Aubrey for you guys that don't know, which he should be rookie of the year, but he doesn't qualify as rookie of the year because he played in a professional league previously. So how effed up is that? First year in the NFL, the man's doing great things. He's not even a rookie or classified as a rookie, getting paid like a rookie, but not a rookie. Jim says it's all about the defense. When you get to the playoffs, you are not able to slide them lucky plays in like you are playing Carolina. Defense wins championships. Jim, I think you nailed it, man. I think you nailed it. John says Baker's a good quarterback, just forces the pass. Just forces the passes. Had me worried, and I mentioned that before the game. Look, I like me some Baker Mayfield. Anybody that can jack off a Jayhawk before a game, not like jack him up, but like, splue in their face. This man's a god in my book. Go Baker Mayfield. But yes, Baker Mayfield has a little bit too much Brett Favre in him, but that's what makes Baker Mayfield. That's what makes him so exciting. Hoffy, is he going to throw for 6 interceptions in a game, or is he going to throw for 5 tutties? It's so exciting. Oh. Wayne G says Niners taking Moody in round 3 scared Belichick into trading up for Ryland. Do you think that's true? That's true, Hoffy?
I mean, yeah, another one. They drafted. I think you can find a kicker in the 6th, 7th round.
Or
if you want him bad
agent.
enough. Yeah, or I'm just saying, if 6th, 7th round picks usually, for the most part, will not pan out to much. So if you want to justify a 6th or 7th round pick, sure, but on a kicker. But I still think they can be had after the draft is over. But
guys, this is ultimately why Bill Belichick got fired, because he doesn't know how to draft anymore. He is a great X's and O's coach, and he can find the diamonds in the rough in the 6th, 7th round. But he is a horrible drafter 1 through 4. He sucks at draft. John says CJ.
So
go ahead.
There was 3 kickers drafted this past draft.
Stupid.
Jake Moody, Chad Ryland, and Anders Carlson. All 3 of them, I think you could easily say, if you ask the fans, because obviously a GM's not going to say, yeah, we missed on this. They're not going to, shit on their draft pick. But I think if they're to redo it, every single one of them would probably pick differently. Invest that pick in something else. But yeah, none of those 3 to me say these guys should have been picked in the draft.
John says CJ Stroud is the rookie of the year, hands down. I'm going to trump you with Jamar Gibbs. Jamar Gibbs has had a pretty good season, but probably CJ Stroud will probably get it because it's a sexy pick, right?
The quarterback.
Yeah, it's a sexy pick. Jim says if Janikowski kicks every time the Raiders get into the red zone for the last 20 years, we would have 3 or 4 more division titles. Not wrong. Not wrong at all. Janikowski reminds me of Hoffy from that kicker from the replay placement, smoking the cigarette. Kicks it. I'll kick the bloody hell out of it. Freaking love that movie. All right. So the last game, Hoffy, that we got to talk about is the Ravens beating down the Texans. Now, we forget that it was a tied ball game, 10-10 going into halftime, and the Texans finally forgot to show up after halftime. Ravens flexed on them a little bit. Lamar Jackson threw for 150 yards, rushed for another 100. But Hoffy, who is to blame in the Texans losing that game?
I mean, you can an obvious reason you could say is the defense. The defense has been good all year. They didn't have anybody keep Lamar Jackson in check. I think it was like the 3rd quarter, whatnot, when they had their linebacker Spy. They did pretty well, but the Ravens figured that out, got away from that. But I'm going to put my number 1 key to success last week when we discussed them winning was the 2-headed monster in the running game. So I'm going to put the blame on the offensive line. They absolutely failed their team in this game. They were able to keep C.J. Stroud's jersey pretty clean, but they, their strength of or ability to move the Ravens defense as needed to open up running lanes was absolutely not there. And that's been a long-standing issue with the Texans that they faced this season. And in a lot of the games they've lost, it's because they weren't able to get that run game going. So I think you needed to have your running game and shorten this game up and control the clock. And without a running game, it became pretty obvious what the Texans were going to be doing. So it allowed for the Ravens to, not allow C.J. Stroud to be, a superstar like he was the week before. So I'm putting the blame on the offensive line.
Yeah, and also to add to your offensive line there, it seemed like every time we looked, they were getting a false start. They were leaving early. They were holding. The offensive line had a lot of pre-snap penalties that ultimately cost the Texans a lot of yardage and a lot of points in that game because consistently playing behind shortens the playbook a little bit. But I am going to place the blame on the youthfulness of the team. This team, Huffy, is a very, very young team, right? Rookie head coach, rookie quarterback. Really, the only veterans that they had were like a left tackle and some linebackers and maybe like some safeties and whatnot. Overall, they were a very, very young team. And with that being said, when you are a young team, you hit what is called a rookie wall. Because when you're in college, you do play your 13, 14 games, right? But you don't train all year long. You're not playing 19, 20 games plus the 3 preseason games. So you're looking at 21 game season just playing, not counting being in training camp since, early June. So I think it was apparent in the second half that the Texans were just kind of like, man, it's been a long season. Let's just go home. Let's go to Cancun. Let's relax. And so I'm going to blame the youthfulness. I think they were just happy of just getting to the playoffs. They were even more happy of just winning that first playoff game over the Cleveland Browns. And in that second half, they're kind of like, man, we're done. We've had a great season. It's just time to wrap it up. And that comes to coaching and just being young. You still have to ride. Even though you're tired, you still got to rally the troops. It is what it is.
Yeah, they were averaging giving up 95 yards a game in rushing. They gave up 2.3 times that. They gave up 229 yards, against that, that Texan stout defense. So that was their bread and butter was stopping the run. And, you give up 100 yards to, Lamar Jackson. It's rarely ever Lamar Jackson beating you, in the air with an air assault. He did very well what he does very well, and that's run the ball. So by not stopping him and allowing him to run, it's all downhill from there.
Yeah, and I really do like your offensive line. And so, if I had to piggyback on what you said, I would definitely say the offensive line as well. I mean, they definitely had a lot of miscues versus the Ravens here. But John asked the question, how many yards did C.J. Stroud throw this season? In the regular season, he was just over 4,100 yards, if I'm not mistaken. Hoffy, you can look that up if you want. But he had I think it was right around 4,100 yards. So that was probably, 10th or 12th in the league because there were a lot of 4,400 yards, 4,500 yards. So, he's definitely probably top 10 in yardage wise.
63.9 completion percentage, 4,108 in yards, 23 touchdowns to 5 interceptions for 100.8 rating.
That's pretty good. Pretty good. Jay's in the chat. He says Detroit is in the Final Four. Detroit will only get better via draft and free agency as well. Detroit and the MCDC will have free agent destination. What is the MCDC, Hoffy? Do you know what that means?
It's a tribute to AC/DC.
Oh, yeah. So instead of the A, they put the M for metric because they're Canadian too. Because they're closer Canadian to any. No, but yeah, Jay, I think you are right. I think the Detroit Lions do get better as long as they keep Jared Goff around. You want to trade and move move Jared Goff around and think Hendon Hooker is the guy right now, you are in for a rude awakening. Hendon Hooker is not the guy, and he will definitely tear that team apart. So keep your core pieces together. Sign C.J. Gardner-Johnson back, and you'll be good to go. Definitely another playoff push. And
I definitely think you got to keep Goff.
What?
He's game. You need a game manager for that system, and I don't think that's what Hendon Hooker is. Hendon Hooker reminds me. I'll get probably punched in the mouth for saying it, but he's a Lamar Jackson style. He likes to. He's a mobile quarterback. That is not what you want in this Detroit system with the weapons that you have.
You also don't want a second-year player that's 27 years old when you're veteran.
Coming off of a
10-year player's 29. So, kind of a dumb draft pick, but it is what it is. MCDC stands for Motor City Dan Campbell. Motor City Dan Campbell. Got it. John says Lamar beats you and the defense punishes the other side. The defense has been very, very punishing. And this weekend, when the Ravens do play the Kansas City Chiefs, if you do not hear the names of Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith a lot, the Kansas City Chiefs are walking all over the Detroit Lions. I'm just saying, it is what it is. We'll talk
about the Ravens, or are you saying when they meet in the Super Bowl?
What did I say? The Niners?
No, you said the Lions.
I meant to say the Ravens. I'm sorry.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you just.
But
moving along there a couple
I
weeks.
do think the Lions will compete very, very well versus the San Francisco 49ers. I think it will be another nail-biting game and come down to a Jake Moody wide right field goal.
I don't know. I mean, it's from what I'm seeing, it's 50-50 that Debo plays. I think he suits up. I think they shoot that shoulder up with, all the good stuff. But they are going to test that shoulder real. They're going to have to probably get him, design the first couple plays, or the first drive is going to be predicated around getting him going and seeing if he's going to be able to last and see how that shoulder is going to hold up. So I think if you don't have Deebo Samuel, it's not going to be. You're not going to be able to force mistakes like you were with Jordan Love. I think Jared Goff, being a game manager, is going to be able to manage that game as needed, and will potentially have his Detroit Lions in the Super Bowl. And we'll see maybe, a whopping 6 points this time out of him in the Super Bowl instead of 3. So,
hear me out.
We'll see an AFC champion.
As a coach, Hoffy, if my star player is 50, right, and he hadn't really practiced all week long, and then he comes into the game, says he's ready to go, and then he plays the first series and he's out for the rest of the game. I would rather have that player just sit out. I don't just because I've spent all week designing a game plan, expecting him not to play, and then he shows up and he plays, alters my first 20 play calls that I have, because the offense usually scripts out at least 10 to 20 plays, no matter where you're at. Hey, here's our 10 plays that we're going to run. Now I got to re-script that the 2 hours before the game, 4 hours before the game. Now I'm in my head thinking, man, I got to get this guy in the game quickly. And then he messes up, gets hurt 5th play of the game. There goes my script. There goes my mindset. There goes everything. So if Debo is not going to have the build, obviously injuries happen, but if Debo is at truly a 50-50 state, sit him out.
Yeah, but what do the 49ers do best? They swap him and McCaffrey. They put McCaffrey in the wide receiver spot, and they bring in Debo Samuel.
Right.
You're taking away a lot of just your matchups that you like to run. So even if you're using Debo as a decoy and, hey, bring him into the backfield, McCaffrey out there, now you're thinking, it could be a handoff to Debo, but really you're just using that to get, CMC the ball. I think you got to have Debo, even if it's just as a decoy, which they'll probably eventually figure out, hey, they keep bringing this guy into the backfield, but they're not handing the ball. They're going, but I think you got to have him, even if it's just as a decoy.
Just like when Brock Purdy went in after tearing his UCL versus the Eagles damn well knowing that he couldn't throw the ball at all, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, maybe that's just a high school coach in me, maybe a little
If
bit.
this is a regular season, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Divisional game, it can be discussed, but this is for all the marbles here. So you got 2 weeks off after this. I think you gotta give it a shot.
Man up and literally shot it up, right? Jay says Goff has earned his contract by delivering what Stafford never could. Stafford
That's
did deliver
bullshit.
it in L.A. He just didn't
Stafford delivered in Detroit. He just didn't have the talent around him.
or a coach. You guys had Matt Patricia, for crying out loud. Matt Patricia. John says, I like what Cam Newton says about Dan Campbell. He sets off metal detectors every time he walks through his balls of steel. Listen, first of all, have you seen Cam Newton's podcast or like his little road tour? Stupid as hell. Stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. But Dan Campbell's steel balls has come back and bit him in the ass a couple times now. Could have beaten the Cowboys. Granted, you still got 2 home playoff games. It's still, everything worked out the way it could have. But what if, Hoffy, let's play the what if game here. What if the Detroit Lions are down by 3 points, 21-24, 30 seconds left, and the Lions are on the 20-yard line, and it's 4th and 2. Dan Campbell
They're going for it.
Let's say he goes for it, and he doesn't get it, and they
are going for it,
and they lose that game. How pissed off are the Detroit Lions fans by not wanting to take that game into overtime? How pissed off are they?
Yeah, absolutely. And I revert back to the Dallas Cowboys game where they, that ridiculous, whatever the hell we want to call that debacle of an extra point where they got it, they had the penalty, they moved it back up, then it's you just failed, and now you're gonna make it 4th and or now you're gonna go for it again when you got like 5. Just take the freaking points at that point. It's no longer a from the 1 yard line. It was like on the 10. All the defense has to do is say, okay, you catch the ball in front of us in this area. We're just gonna stand right here on this, on the end zone line. I mean, so yeah, I think I wouldn't. I'll go out on a limb and say it now. I think that if Detroit loses this game, it will be because of a call by Dan Campbell. I don't think it's going to be the 49ers just boat racing you.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be, the 49ers going down and getting a last, a touchdown to put them ahead like what they just did. And then Jared Goff comes out and throws an interception. And I think that there will be some critical play in this game where Dan Campbell fails his team, and that'll be the reason why they lose this game.
And then people will still be praising them because, you got us there, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it is what it is. Jay says, let's not forget we signed Zach Ertz as well. I don't know if he does anything, but he's here. Yeah, you guys signed him because your backup tight end, was it Brian Wright or Brock Wright or something like that? He is out. So he will definitely be there to, potentially play some. But I actually spoke on that with my wife. I'm like, hey, he hasn't played a game since freaking September.
The fact that we have a trade deadline, but you can go picking people up whenever you want during it, I think is stupid.
Yeah, we kind of discussed that as well, but then I'm like, what if a player does get hurt? You can pull players up from practice squad, right? I mean, it's kind of like the same thing.
Yeah, that's why you have your practice squad players. Pull one of them up. Well, I don't think
Zach Ertz got
be able to go and.
So what happened is the Lions are pulling up a practice squad player. Zach Ertz has been signed to the practice squad, and then so they're saying like Friday or Saturday he's going to be pulled up from the practice squad into the active roster. So technically you are pulling him up from the practice squad. But I see what you're saying. I'm not for sure how good he will be though. Detroit all the way, says David. Use that rookie running back Jahmyr Gibbs. Better use and abuse him. Ty Montgomery's kind of a beast too. He is the red zone type of person. John says, have you guys never heard of No Guts, No Glory? I've heard of No Guts, No Glory before, John, but I've also heard be smarter than the average bear, right? when you're down by 3 on the road, 4th and 2 within the 20-yard line, 10, 15 seconds left, you take the points. Take the points going to overtime. John says, it's just like the transfer portal. It's like free agency.
It's not, because it's before the season, so you can transfer and then you have the whole season. But
yeah,
I'm referring after a certain week. You should not be able to go picking up Joe Schmo from off the streets.
What's that, Yogi Bear? Hey there, Yogi. Let's get some Pick Them Best Kids. Or we talk about Yogi Bear like the baseball player. I don't know. It is what it is. But guys, those are the blame game for the day. We're kind of tinkering with some new stuff here, seeing what sticks, what doesn't stick. But tomorrow's Thursday, Hoffy. We're going to dive deep into the championship games. We got to talk about the Ravens versus Chiefs, and of course the Lions versus the 49ers. And then Friday, we'll give our game picks. Because obviously, the NFL experts are going to pick the 49ers and the Ravens because, they, God forbid, they go out on a limb and make a bet, right? Stand behind it. They're going to just want to, hey, look what I did. I picked all the number 1 seeds to win. Congratulations.
Picked all the favorites.
Picked all the favorites. Of course you did too until you
Someone's got to save our asses.
Send us out.
4-0, baby.
4-0. I was 2-2. My bad. Send us out, Hoffman.